Lately, I've started to hate my workouts. I used to enjoy running and weightlifting, but now it's become a chore that I tolerate to maintain something in the neighborhood of my ideal health, fitness, and physique profiles. These workouts have basically become like a bad roommate you want to get rid of, but you can't because your survival depends in part on their half of the rent. I suppose I could just stop doing the workouts, in the same way I could just stop bathing or brushing my teeth or putting on clothes. But this video isn't meant to turn into a tangent philosophical argument about what we humans technically have to do. Anyway, when a long-time evening staple begins to feel like a chore and you no longer want the prospect of doing that chore to be hanging over your head most of the day, what do?
Every morning starts with a run. And that's because that's the one thing I hate to do more than anything in the world.
You make it the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning. By the way, the person in that clip is not me. I have to say that because I've been out on a number of runs where I'll hear a voice unironically say, "Is that David Goggins?" I know we all look the same, but I assure you, I haven't had a clean-shaven face since college. Speaking of my younger years, ever since high school I've done almost all of my meaningful physical activities during PM hours, whether it's in the afternoon with teammates or late at night by myself when I can take advantage of my privilege of not being part of a primary kidnapping demographic. So the evening activity habit isn't going to be an easy one to break. Before this experimental habit change, my weeknight routine was to go to bed around 2 a.m. and wake up around 8 a.m. so I could begin my workday at 8:30 a.m. The adjusted target sleep period for the new habit will be 12:30 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. And for those who are definitely wondering after seeing those intervals, I physically cannot sleep beyond 6 hours and I rarely even get to 6. It's usually around 5.5 if you're counting actual sleep time. As of filming this, I've completed a full week of waking up at 6:30 a.m. and getting out the door before 7 a.m. to begin each run. Here's how it's going, starting with the cons. The first con is that this new habit necessitates an extra shower. I typically shower at night, often before bed, but now I also need to shower in the morning after the run, and I don't plan on giving up the night shower. Another con is that I now need to apply sunscreen twice in the morning. The sport sunscreen goes on before the run. The regular sunscreen goes on after the morning shower before my day starts as one of my increasingly desperate measures to age slightly slower on the outside than I am on the inside. And the last con of running and lifting in the morning is that there is no time to properly fuel before these workouts. There's only time to grab a sip of water or electrolyte mix before heading out the door. One of the advantages of working out later in the day is that you can fuel throughout the day, which enables you to work out with some glycogen reserves. While fasted, easy to moderate running isn't exceptionally difficult, it's the resistance training afterward where I feel the depletion of glycogen stores. It basically feels like working out on a cut every single time, so if I stick to this routine, I'll need to monitor my ability to build and maintain muscle. Now, here are the pros to getting up earlier to work out first thing in the morning. The first is that I now feel like I have more quality time throughout the day. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I can do things after work without having to put those things off until later that evening so I can fit the workout in. For example, I used to have to choose between doing a dedicated workout or going for a walk on a given day, but now I can do both if I want. I also suddenly feel like I have extra hours to work on projects despite me moving my bedtime up an hour and a half. This new early bird routine has made me realize that I was probably wasting a lot of my time during each day. Not consciously. It's likely that the zombie feeling I got after each evening workout prevented me from making any significant use of the discretionary time I had before bed. And yet somehow for years I thought I benefited from staying up later just because I'm a creative and that's supposedly what we do. But as you can probably tell by the few videos I've produced this year, I'm in a creative rut. And this rut arose during my previous daily routine. The second pro of morning workouts is the mental relief that comes from getting the now most annoying part of my day done and out of the way. Making a living wears most people down mentally throughout a day, and I'm no exception. So it can feel like an unnecessary additional mental load to carry with you throughout your workday, knowing that you still have to do a physically stressful thing after you get done putting in the 8+ hours of the mentally stressful thing you're doing right now. The third and final pro of waking up earlier is that I somehow feel less groggy in the morning despite supposedly getting the same amount of sleep as before. It's possible that my sleep quality has improved. Whether or not my noticeable increase in dream frequency is evidence of that is hard to determine based on the available information online about sleep, and I'm definitely not a sleep expert. Whatever the case, I'm experiencing fewer instances of sleep inertia, which is that mental fog that lasts about 30 minutes if you're awakened during the final stage of non-REM sleep. Overall, the pros outweigh the cons, so I plan on continuing this early bird routine because I feel like there are simply too many potential improvements to different areas of life that would be left on the table by going back to working out in the evening after work. And it's nice to see the sunrise backdrop behind the Bay Bridge.